It's so good to have you with us today. I believe God has amazing things in store for you. No matter where you are in life, no matter what challenges you're facing, know this: you were created for a purpose. You are not here by accident. You have a destiny, and it's bigger than anything anyone else can decide for you. People will always have opinions about what you should do. They'll tell you what career to choose, who to marry, what dreams are realistic. And yes, there is wisdom in seeking advice. The Bible says plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. But here's the key: advice is meant to guide you, not control you. Too many people miss their destiny because they let someone else's opinion decide their life. They were excited about a new opportunity, but a friend said that's too risky. They wanted to start a business, but a family member said that will never work. And instead of moving forward, they let someone else's fears become their reality. You can respect people's advice without giving them the driver's seat in your life. Because at the end of the day, when you stand before God, He's not going to ask your neighbor, your boss, or even your closest friend what they thought about your life. He's going to ask you, did you fulfill the purpose I gave you? When God puts something in your heart, when you know deep down that it's meant for you, don't let anyone talk you out of it. Their advice may be well-meaning, but only God's voice should have the final say. Keep your heart open to wisdom, but keep your spirit anchored in His plan. So go ahead, dream big, step out in faith, and don't let anyone else decide your life. The best days are still ahead. One of the greatest lessons you can learn in life is the power of discernment. Knowing when to take advice and when to respectfully set it aside. Every day we are surrounded by voices: friends, family, colleagues, mentors, even strangers. Some offer wisdom, others offer opinion, and many speak from their own fears, experiences, or limited perspectives. While advice can be helpful, it should never be the deciding factor in how you live your life. Think about a GPS system in your car. It can give you directions, suggest alternate routes, and even warn you about roadblocks ahead, but at any moment, you have the power to override it. You can take a different path, turn left when it says right, or ignore its instructions completely. Advice from others works the same way. It can guide you, help you see obstacles you might not have noticed, and even lead you toward a smoother journey. But just like a GPS, advice is not a command. It's not the ultimate authority in your life. The problem arises when people take advice as law. When they let the voices of others dictate their every move, they end up living someone else's version of life instead of the one they were meant to live. Maybe you've seen this happen. A young man dreams of starting a business, but his parents tell him it's too risky, so he plays it safe and settles for a job he doesn't love. A woman feels called to a creative career, but her friends convince her that a traditional path is more stable, so she buries her passion and follows the crowd. Years later, they look back and wonder, what if? That what if is what haunts so many people. They regret the moments they let others decide for them. They realize too late that while advice can be valuable, it should never be the final word on their destiny. No matter how wise or well-intended someone's counsel may be, it is still based on their own experiences, not yours. They may be speaking from a place of fear, doubt, or even love, but their perspective is limited to what they know. Consider the story of David in the Bible. When he was just a young shepherd, he stepped forward to fight Goliath. King Saul, a seasoned warrior, advised him to wear his armor into battle. Saul meant well. He was speaking from his own experience. He thought that for David to have any chance of survival, he needed to follow the traditional way of fighting. But David knew that the armor didn't fit him. It was heavy, uncomfortable, and not suited for the way he fought. Instead, he relied on what he knew, his slingshot, his faith, and his own unique abilities. The result? He defeated the giant not by following someone else's advice blindly, but by staying true to what he knew was right for him. How many people today are walking around in someone else's armor, trying to fit into expectations that don't match who they truly are, living out choices that were made for them instead of by them? The weight of other people's advice can be burdensome when it turns into obligation. You start feeling like you should do something, even when your heart tells you otherwise. You feel pressure to meet expectations that don't align with your purpose. That's why it's important to filter advice, to take what aligns with your vision and discard what doesn't. When you receive advice, ask yourself, does this align with what I know to be true for my life? Is this advice coming from a place of wisdom or fear? Does this encourage me to grow or does it limit me? Am I making this decision because I truly believe in it or because I'm afraid of disappointing others? The people giving you advice are not the ones who will have to live with the consequences of your decisions. You are. At the end of the day, you are the one who has to wake up every morning and live with the choices you've made. That's why you can't let someone else's voice be louder than your own. This doesn't mean you should ignore advice altogether. Wise counsel can save you from unnecessary mistakes, help you avoid pitfalls, and open your eyes to perspectives you might not have considered. But there's a difference between seeking guidance and surrendering control. You can appreciate advice without being bound by it. You can listen with an open heart while still making the final call for your own life. The most successful people in the world have one thing in common. They learned to trust themselves. They didn't let rejection, doubt, or outside opinion stop them from pursuing their purpose. When people told them their dreams were impossible, they didn't back down. They pushed forward. If you study history, you'll find countless examples of individuals who went against the grain, who took advice as a suggestion rather than a command. Steve Jobs was advised to give up on Apple. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. Walt Disney was told he lacked creativity. Imagine if they had taken that advice as the final word on their future. So today, make a decision. You will be the one who writes your story. You will listen, learn, and take wisdom from others, but you will not let their voices drown out your own. You have been given a unique purpose, a path that only you can walk. Seek advice, but always remember, advice is a tool, not a master. It can guide you, but it should never decide you. Life is filled with choices. Every single day you make decisions that shape your future. Some choices are small, like what to wear or what to eat. Others are monumental, like where to live, what career to pursue, and who to spend your life with. These big decisions define the course of your destiny, and no one else can make them for you. You may receive advice, suggestions, and even pressure from those around you. But at the end of the day, you are the one who has to live with the consequences of your choices. That means your destiny is not in the hands of your parents, your friends, or even society. It is in your hands. It's easy to let others influence the direction of your life. Sometimes it happens without you even realizing it. A parent may push you toward a particular career because it feels safe and stable. A friend may discourage you from taking a risk because they're afraid of failure. A mentor may suggest a path that worked for them, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's right for you. These voices can be loud, convincing, and even well-meaning, but they do not have the final say over your future. Only you do. Many people go through life feeling stuck, frustrated, or unfulfilled, not because they lack talent or ambition, but because they have given away their power to choose. They have let the expectations of others determine their path. They have followed a script written by someone else instead of creating their own. Years go by and they begin to feel the weight of regret, asking themselves, what if I had made a different choice? But the truth is, no one else can walk your journey for you. No one else can fulfill the unique purpose you were created for. If you allow others to make decisions on your behalf, you risk missing out on the life you were meant to live. People may have opinions, but they don't have your vision. They don't have your dreams, your passion, or your calling. That's why it's so important to take ownership of your destiny. Taking control of your life doesn't mean ignoring advice or refusing to listen to those who care about you. It simply means recognizing that at the end of the day, you are the one who must make the final decision. It means trusting yourself even when others doubt you. It means believing in the path that is in your heart, even when it doesn't make sense to everyone else. History is filled with stories of people who refuse to let others decide their destiny. Think about great innovators, leaders, and visionaries. They didn't follow the crowd or allow someone else to dictate their future. Instead, they took bold steps, made courageous choices, and stayed true to their own convictions. Imagine if Thomas Edison had listened to the critics who told him he would never invent the light bulb. Imagine if Martin Luther King Jr. had allowed fear to stop him from standing up for justice. Imagine if the Wright brothers had given up because people said flying was impossible. These individuals didn't let someone else's doubts define them. They understood that their destiny was in their hands. It's important to remember that people often give advice based on their own limitations. When someone tells you that you can't achieve something, they're usually speaking from their own fears or failures. Maybe they tried and didn't succeed, so they assume you won't either. Maybe they don't have the same vision you do, so they can't see the possibility of success. But just because something didn't work for them doesn't mean it won't work for you. Their experience is not your experience. Their journey is not your journey. When you take ownership of your life, you also take ownership of your happiness. You no longer wait for others to tell you what to do or seek approval before making a move. You stop blaming circumstances, other people, or past mistakes for where you are, and you start making decisions that move you forward. You recognize that you have the power to change your life, no matter where you are today. It's not always easy to stand firm in your decisions, especially when the people around you don't understand. There will be moments when you feel alone, when doubt creeps in, and when it would be easier to just go along with what others expect of you. But in those moments, remind yourself that your life is yours to live. No one else has to walk in your shoes. No one else will feel the joy of your victories or the weight of your regrets. That's why it's so important to choose a path that is true to who you are, not who others want you to be. When you look back on your life, you won't regret the chances you took, the dreams you pursued, or the decisions you made with confidence. What you will regret is letting someone else decide for you. You will regret not trusting yourself. You will regret not believing in the vision that was placed in your heart. So today, make a decision. Choose to take control of your future. Choose to listen to advice, but never let anyone else make your choices for you. Choose to trust yourself, to follow your dreams, and to walk the path that is meant for you. Because at the end of the day, your destiny is not in the hands of others. It is and always will be in your hands. Life is full of voices. Every day we are surrounded by people who offer their thoughts, opinions, and perspectives on what we should do. Some are mentors who genuinely want the best for us, while others are simply speaking from their own experiences, their own fears, or their own limitations. It is easy to listen to these voices, to absorb their advice, and to let their words shape our decisions. But while listening and learning are valuable, they must never replace our ability to lead our own lives. There is wisdom in hearing what others have to say. No one succeeds alone. And there are people who have walked the path before us who can offer valuable insights. A teacher can guide you toward knowledge. A mentor can help you avoid mistakes they once made. A friend can offer a fresh perspective that you hadn't considered. Listening to advice can save you from unnecessary struggles and provide clarity in moments of uncertainty. But the key is to remember that advice is only one piece of the puzzle. It should never be the final decision maker in your life. Too often, people listen so much that they forget to lead. They spend their lives gathering opinions, weighing different perspectives, and seeking validation from those around them. They become so focused on what others think that they stop trusting their own instincts. They let the fear of making the wrong choice paralyze them, and in doing so, they end up stuck, never fully moving forward, never fully embracing the path that was meant for them. But leadership, especially self-leadership, requires confidence. It requires the ability to take in information, process it, and then make a decision that aligns with your own vision and purpose. It means standing firm in your beliefs, even when others don't understand. It means trusting your inner voice, even when external voices are louder. It means recognizing that while advice can be helpful, it should never override what you know deep down to be right for you. There is a reason why no two people have the same exact journey. Each person is designed with unique gifts, talents, and callings. What works for one person may not work for another. What is right for someone else may not be right for you. That is why leadership is so important. You must have the courage to forge your own path, even when the road ahead is uncertain. Think about the greatest leaders in history. They did not simply follow the advice of others. They listened, they learned, but ultimately they led. They made bold choices that sometimes went against conventional wisdom. They took risks that others were afraid to take. They had a vision that not everyone understood. Yet they pursued it anyway. If they had allowed the doubts or opinions of others to dictate their actions, they never would have accomplished the great things they did. Take the example of someone who dreams of starting a business. They may ask for advice from family and friends, only to hear warnings about how difficult it will be, how risky it is, and how few people succeed. If they listen too closely to these voices, they might start doubting themselves. They might hesitate, delay, and eventually abandon their dream altogether. But a true leader takes in the advice, considers the risk, and then makes their own decision based on their passion and conviction. They understand that while others may have concerns, only they can determine what is truly possible for their life. Leadership is not about ignoring advice, but about filtering it. It's about knowing which voices to listen to and which to tune out. Not every piece of advice is right for you. Not every opinion is rooted in truth. Some people speak from a place of fear rather than faith. Some people project their own failures onto others. That is why discernment is so important. You must learn to separate the wisdom that serves you from the doubt that limits you. One of the most freeing realizations in life is that you do not need everyone's approval to move forward. You do not need to explain every decision you make. You do not need to convince others that your path is the right one. All you need is the confidence to trust yourself and the courage to take action. The people who truly support you will respect your ability to lead your own life. They will offer guidance, but they will not try to control you. They will share their perspective, but they will not be offended if you choose a different route. Sometimes leadership means going against the grain. It means standing alone in your conviction. It means taking a step forward when others are telling you to wait. It means believing in something greater, even when no one else can see it yet. But the moment you decide to lead instead of just listen, you unlock your full potential. You stop living by the expectations of others and start living according to the purpose that was placed within you. People may not always understand your choices. And that's okay. Your journey is not meant to make sense to everyone else. What matters is that you are true to yourself. What matters is that you have peace in your decisions. What matters is that you do not let fear, doubt, or outside voices take control of your life. So listen, but don't be led. Learn, but don't be limited. Take in wisdom, but never surrender your ability to lead. Because at the end of the day, the only person who truly knows what is best for you is you. Every person has a destiny, a purpose uniquely designed for them. From the moment you were created, God placed inside of you talents, dreams, and a calling that no one else can fulfill in the same way. But along the journey of life, there will always be people who have their own opinions about what you should or should not do. Some will try to guide you based on their own experiences. Others may doubt you because they cannot see what God has placed in your heart. If you allow people's opinions to dictate your decisions, you may find yourself walking a path that was never meant for you. God's plan is greater than human reasoning. It is higher than human expectations. It is beyond what people can see or imagine. When God calls you to something, He does not check with the opinions of others first. He does not need their approval to bless you. He does not require their permission to open doors for you. Yet many people allow outside voices to drown out the voice of God. They let the fear of criticism hold them back. They hesitate because someone told them their dream was unrealistic. They abandon the very thing they were created to do because they were afraid of what others might say. But God's plan for your life is not up for debate. It is not subject to human vote. It is not dependent on whether people understand it or agree with it. When He calls you to something, He equips you for it. When He opens a door, no one can shut it. And when He puts a dream inside of you, it is because He has already made a way for it to come to pass. The opinions of others cannot cancel what God has ordained. Think about Noah. God instructed him to build an ark before there was ever a drop of rain. People must have thought he was crazy. They likely mocked him, doubted him, and questioned why he would waste his time building something so unnecessary. If Noah had listened to the opinions of people instead of the voice of God, he never would have completed the ark. He never would have fulfilled his purpose. He never would have been part of the great plan that God had set in motion. But Noah understood something that we all need to remember. God's plan does not always make sense to everyone else. His instructions may seem unusual. His timing may not align with what people expect, but His purpose will always prevail. The same is true for you. If God has placed something in your heart, it is there for a reason. It is not a mistake. It is not wishful thinking. It is not just an idea. It is part of His divine plan for your life. But if you let people talk you out of it, you risk missing out on what He has for you. Too often, people give more weight to human opinions than to divine direction. They seek approval from friends, family, or society before taking steps of faith. They hesitate because they don't want to disappoint others. They delay because they want everyone to understand and agree with their decisions. But faith does not require human validation. Obedience to God does not need unanimous support. When David was anointed to be king, he was just a shepherd boy. To those around him, he did not look like a king. He was not the tallest, the strongest, or the most experienced. Even his own family did not see his potential. When the prophet Samuel came to anoint the next king Israel, David's father did not even call him into the house at first. He assumed that one of David's older brothers would be chosen. But God's plan was not based on human expectations. He saw something in David that no one else did. And when the time was right, He elevated David to the throne. That is how God works. He does not choose people based on popular opinion. He does not ask others whether you are qualified. He does not wait for a majority vote before blessing you. When He calls you, He calls you. When He prepares a place for you, it is yours. No amount of doubt, criticism, or negativity from others can change what He has decided. That is why it is so important to stay focused on God's plan rather than people's opinions. The moment you start seeking approval from the world, you risk stepping out of alignment with what God has for you. The moment you let criticism discourage you, you weaken your faith. The moment you allow doubt to take root, you begin to question the very calling that God has placed in your heart. People will always have something to say. Some will encourage you and some will discourage you. Some will support you and some will try to hold you back. But at the end of the day, their opinions do not determine your destiny. Only God does. He is the one who created you, who equipped you, and who knows the full picture of your future. So when you feel doubt creeping in, remind yourself that God's plan is bigger than what people think. When others try to talk you out of your dreams, remember that they do not see what God has shown you. When you feel the pressure to conform to expectations that do not align with your calling, stand firm in faith. You were not created to live according to the opinions of others. You were created to fulfill a divine purpose. The road may not always be easy. There will be moments when you feel misunderstood, moments when people question your choices, moments when you wonder if you are on the right path. But in those moments, trust that God's plan is still unfolding. He is working behind the scenes. He is preparing the way. And as long as you follow His lead, you will arrive exactly where you were meant to be. So take the pressure off. Stop trying to please everyone. Stop letting fear of what others think dictate your decisions. Instead, tune in to the voice of God. Follow His direction with boldness and confidence, because at the end of the day, people's opinions may change, but His plan for your life will always stand. Confidence is one of the most powerful tools a person can have. It is not about arrogance, and it is not about pretending to have all the answers. True confidence comes from a deep, unshakable understanding of who you are. It is about knowing what you believe, what you stand for, and where you are headed. When you truly know yourself, you don't need constant reassurance from others. You don't need approval to move forward. You don't need people to validate your decisions. You walk with purpose because you are secure in your identity and the path set before you. Many people struggle with confidence, not because they lack talent or potential, but because they have spent too much time listening to external voices and not enough time listening to their own. They allow the opinions of others to shape their self-permission. They let criticism make them doubt their abilities. They hesitate to take action because they are waiting for someone to tell them they are good enough. But true confidence is not built on what others think. It is built on a strong foundation of self-awareness. When you know who you are, you stop looking for permission to be yourself. You stop apologizing for your dreams, your ambitions, and your uniqueness. You understand that you were created with purpose, and that alone gives you the right to pursue the life you envision. You don't waste energy trying to fit into molds that were never meant for you. Instead, you embrace the fullness of who you are without hesitation or fear. One of the reasons people struggle with self-confidence is because they spend too much time comparing themselves to others. They look at someone else's success and feel inadequate. They measure their progress based on someone else's timeline. They assume that because another person seems more experienced, more talented, or more knowledgeable, they must be better. But confidence does not come from being better than someone else. It comes from recognizing your own value, independent of comparison. Imagine a musician who spends all their time comparing themselves to another artist. If they constantly focus on what the other person can do, they will never fully develop their own style. They may try to mimic someone else's path, only to realize that it doesn't feel right. But when they embrace their own unique sound, their own creative process, and their own journey, they become truly confident in their artistry. The same principle applies to every area of life. The more you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, the less you feel the need to compare. Confidence also comes from experience. The more you step outside your comfort zone, the more you build trust in yourself. Every challenge you overcome, every risk you take, and every decision you make strengthens your belief in your own ability. Many people wait until they feel confident before they take action, but the truth is, confidence is built through action. It grows when you prove to yourself that you are capable. The first time you try something new, you may feel uncertain, but as you keep going, you realize that you are stronger and more capable than you thought. Think about a child learning to ride a bike. At first, they are unsteady. They may fall a few times, but with each attempt, they gain more control, more balance, and more confidence. Eventually, they ride with ease because they have developed trust in their own ability. That same process applies to life. The more you push yourself, the more confident you become. You stop relying on others to tell you that you can. You know that you can because you've proven it to yourself. Another key to true confidence is self-acceptance. Many people struggle with insecurity because they are trying to be someone they're not. They feel pressure to meet certain expectations, to conform to certain standards, or to fit into a particular image. But confidence does not come from pretending. It comes from embracing exactly who you are. When you accept yourself fully, the strengths, the weaknesses, the quirks, and the imperfections, you no longer feel the need to seek validation from others. You stand tall in your authenticity, knowing that you are enough just as you are. Self-acceptance also means recognizing that you are a work in progress. Confidence is not about having everything figured out. It is not about being perfect. It is about knowing that you are growing, learning, and evolving. It is about giving yourself grace when you make mistakes and allowing yourself to keep moving forward without shame. People who are truly confident do not fear failure because they understand that failure is part of the journey. They do not let setbacks define them because they know that setbacks are temporary. They trust that as long as they keep going, they will continue to grow. One of the greatest benefits of confidence is that it allows you to make decisions without fear. When you trust yourself, you do not second guess every choice. You do not need endless approval before moving forward. You do not spend your time worrying about what others think. You make decisions with clarity and conviction because you know that your path is yours to walk. Confidence also changes the way you handle criticism. When you are insecure, every negative comment feels personal. Every rejection feels like a statement about your worth. But when you are confident, you understand that criticism is just an opinion. It does not define you. You take what is useful, ignore what is not, and keep moving forward. You do not let the fear of judgment stop you from pursuing what is in your heart. Ultimately, true confidence is about trust. Trust in yourself, trust in your abilities, and trust in the journey ahead. It is about knowing that you are capable, strong, and worthy of success. It is about standing firm in your identity, no matter what others say. And when you have that kind of confidence, you are unstoppable. So take time to truly know yourself. Discover your strengths, embrace your uniqueness, and trust your abilities. Do not let the opinions of others shake your belief in yourself. Walk boldly, live authentically, and move forward with the kind of confidence that comes from deep self-awareness. Because when you truly know yourself, nothing can hold you back. Life is a series of decisions. From the moment you wake up in the morning to the moment you go to bed at night, you are making choices that shape your future. Some decisions may seem small and insignificant, while others have the power to alter the course of your life. Every choice you make is like a seed planted in the soil of your destiny. And over time, those seeds grow into the reality you live in. That is why it is so important to make decisions for yourself rather than allowing others to make them for you. Many people live their lives based on what others expect of them. They allow their parents, friends, colleagues, or society to dictate their path. They choose careers not because they love them, but because someone else said it was the right thing to do. They enter relationships not because they feel a deep connection, but because they are afraid of disappointing others. They make decisions based on fear, fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of stepping outside the norm. But the truth is, no one else has to live with the consequences of your choices except for you. When you allow others to make decisions for you, you give up control over your own life. You become a passenger instead of the driver. You let external influences dictate your direction, and before you know it, you may find yourself in a place you never wanted to be. Imagine sailing a boat, but instead of steering it yourself, you let every person on board take turns controlling the wheel. One person steers you left, another steers you right, another takes you backward, and eventually you are lost at sea with no clear direction. That is what happens when you do not take ownership of your decisions. You drift through life, following the opinions of others instead of moving toward your true purpose. Making your own decisions does not mean ignoring advice or refusing guidance. There is wisdom in learning from those who have walked the path before you, but at the end of the day, the final decision must be yours. You must be the one to weigh your options, consider the consequences, and decide what aligns with your vision for your life. Advice can serve as a guide, but it should never become a substitute for your own judgment. One of the most powerful things you can do is develop the ability to trust yourself. Too often people hesitate to make decisions because they doubt their own wisdom. They wait for someone else to confirm what they already know in their hearts. They seek endless opinions, hoping for a guarantee that they are making the right choice. But life does not come with guarantees. Every decision carries a level of risk, but that should not stop you from moving forward. When you trust yourself, you stop seeking validation from others and you start making choices with confidence. Every successful person in history had to make decisions that went against the grain. They had to tune out the noise of doubt, criticism, and fear in order to pursue their destiny. If they had waited for universal approval, they never would have accomplished great things. Think about Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. If he had listened to the people who told him to give up, the world might still be in darkness. Think about the Wright brothers, who were ridiculed for believing humans could fly. If they had let others decide for them, airplanes would not exist today. Your decisions are powerful because they determine the life you create. If you want to achieve something great, you have to be willing to make bold choices. You have to be willing to step out in faith, even when the path is unclear. You have to take responsibility for your future instead of waiting for someone else to shape it for you. One of the greatest barriers to decision making is fear. Fear of making the wrong choice, fear of failure, fear of regret. But the reality is, not making a decision is still a decision. Hesitation and indecision keep people stuck in the same place year after year. They dream of a better life, but they never take action because they are afraid of choosing incorrectly. But progress only happens when you decide to move. Even if you make a mistake, you can learn from it and adjust your course. What matters is that you are actively shaping your future instead of passively letting life happen to you. Some of the most important decisions you will make in life involve saying no. Saying no to things that do not align with your values. Saying no to opportunities that do not serve your long-term vision. Saying no to people who try to control or manipulate you. Many people struggle with saying no because they do not want to disappoint others. They feel pressure to conform, to be agreeable, to meet expectations. But every time you say yes to something that does not align with your purpose, you are saying no to something that does. Clarity in decision making comes from knowing who you are and what you want. When you have a strong sense of purpose, your choices become clearer. You no longer feel the need to seek approval because you have a deep understanding of what is right for you. You do not get easily swayed by opinions because you have a firm foundation. The more you define your own vision, the easier it becomes to make decisions that support it. At the end of your life, you will not look back and remember the opinions of others. You will remember the choices you made. You will remember the moments when you took a risk, stepped out in faith, and followed your heart. You will either feel proud of the life you created, or you will wonder what could have been if you had made different decisions. The power is in your hands. Do not let fear, doubt, or outside voices dictate your future. Take responsibility for your choices. Trust yourself. Make decisions that align with your vision, because every choice you make is shaping your destiny, and only you have the power to decide where your life will go. Life is too precious to be lived according to the expectations of others. Every day you are faced with choices that shape your future, define your purpose, and determine the legacy you leave behind. Advice from others can be valuable, but at the end of the day, no one else can live your life for you. No one else will face the consequences of your decisions. No one else will walk the path that was designed specifically for you. You were created with a unique purpose, a divine calling that no one else can fulfill in the way that you can. God did not place those dreams, talents, and desires in your heart by accident. He does not make mistakes. But too often, people allow fear, doubt, and outside opinions to keep them from stepping into the life they were meant to live. They hesitate, they second guess, and they allow others to decide their path for them. But real fulfillment comes when you take ownership of your destiny. If you want to achieve something great, you must be willing to trust yourself. You must be willing to walk boldly in faith, even when others do not understand. You must be willing to silence the noise of doubt and listen to the voice within you. Confidence is not about having all the answers. It is about believing that you are capable, that you are worthy, and that you have everything you need to succeed. Remember, people's opinions do not define you. Their doubts do not limit you. Their expectations do not determine your future. Only you have the power to make decisions that align with your purpose. Only you can choose the path that leads to your greatest potential. So walk forward with boldness. Make decisions with confidence. Trust in the plan that has been set before you. Take advice, but never let others decide who you are or what you should do. Because when you take control of your destiny, when you own your choices, and when you stay true to yourself, there is no limit to what you can achieve.